What is up, Baggies fans, football fans, and sports fans, to another video on the Baggies channel. And today, obviously, is Iconic Wednesday, and we're talking about possibly one of the greatest wingers to grace the footballing game, and that is, of course, Laurie Cunningham. Before we get into today's video, let's aim 40 likes on this video. Leave a comment, let me know who you want to see next. So far, all that's coming up next is Leyton Orient, so make sure you leave your suggestions below. Doesn't have to be obviously old players, it could be new players as well that you want to see a nice breakdown of, so let me know. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification. We are well on our way to 500 subscribers now, which is absolutely fantastic. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for tuning in to the last video and smashed the hell out of that like target with over 100 likes. I really do appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the channel. And let's get into it and talk about the man that is Laurie Cunningham. He's a man that glided across pitches like a dancer on stage. He broke racial barriers and left an unforgettable mark on the beautiful game, not just here at West Bromwich Albion, but around the world. So sit back, relax, and let me take you through a story of a true footballing icon. Lawrence Paul Cunningham was born on March 8th, 1956 in Archway, North London. His parents immigrated from Jamaica, part of the Windrush generation, and like many black families at the time, they had faced their fair share of prejudice. Laurie grew up when times and opportunities were slim. Racism wasn't just tolerated in society, it was normalised. But even from a young age, Laurie stood out. He was quick, skillful, and had a cool confidence that made you watch him twice. Now get this, he was rejected by Arsenal as a youth player. Why? Because they said he had wrong attitude. Imagine that. One of the smoothest, most naturally gifted players of his generation turned down by Arsenal for being too bold, too flamboyant. That attitude, that very thing they didn't like, is what made him a superstar. He eventually signed for Leyton Orient, and even at that level, you could see there was something special about him. He had an uncanny ability to drift past players like they weren't even there. Quick feet, tight control, the kind of balance that made you think he was on skates. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to see him play, but I know a lot of you that are watching this probably did see him play in the blue and white stripes, and it'd be nice to let me know your stories of what you've seen him and your favourite memories of him in the comments down below. And obviously, as I said, then came the move that changed everything. In 1977, Ron Atkinson, a man with the eye for flair, brought Laurie to West Bromwich Albion for just under £110,000. And trust me, that was a serious fee at the time, but it was worth every single penny. He made his debut in a 2-0 win over Chelsea. From the off, Laurie played like he belonged on the biggest stage. He had explosive pace, but it wasn't just about speed. It was about how effortlessly he moved. He didn't run down the wing, he glided. And the fans, they were hooked. They'd seen good players before, but Laurie had brought something different. He brought style, white boots, sharp clothes, and his quiet charisma. He was like a rock star, but for football. But it wasn't just about him. He was a Hawthorns farm, one of the most iconic front threes in history, with Cunningham, Regis, and Batson going down the wing, knowing as the 3 degrees, named after the Motown girl group. Here's a fun fact. Ron Atkinson himself coined that nickname. And although it might sound a bit dated now, at the time it was a signal. These 3 black players weren't just in the team, they were the team. But let's be honest, football in the 1970s was rough, and if you were black, it was brutal. Laurie and his teammates were walking into hostile environments every single week. Monkey chants, bananas, booze, abuse from the stand, opponents, and even from the press. It would have been easy to lose it, to respond with anger, but Laurie didn't flinch. He responded the best way possible by humiliating defenders with his feet. Every time he stepped on the pitch, it was a statement. You can throw hate at me, but you can't stop me. He didn't just play for West Brom. He played for every kid who'd ever been told they didn't belong. He proved you could be black, stylish and successful, not in spite of your identity, but because you embraced it. Now, obviously, in the build-up to this, I watched the highlights of the 5-3 over Manchester United, and every time he had the ball, the boos that were ringing around the crowd, him, Cyril Regis, anybody, as soon as they had got the ball, anybody of colour, straight away the fans were booing him. And to have that much pressure on your shoulders and still do the things that he did just proves how good of a footballer he was. And then in 1979, he made history again. He became the first ever black player to represent England in a competitive international against Bulgaria in a European Championship qualifier. Think about that. 1979, England had never started a black player in a proper football match before. That's how recent this history is that we're talking about. And while it's criminal that he only got 6 caps, his inclusion opened the door for others. John Barnes, Paul Ince, Sol Campbell, Ashley Cole, Marcus Rashford, Raheem Sterling, the list goes on. All of them are part of Laurie's legacy. Here's something wild. He was the first ever black British footballer to ever play in a competitive England match and the first Englishman to sign for Real Madrid. One man, two milestones. Let's talk about that move. In summer of 1979, Laurie signed for Real Madrid, the Real Madrid. He became the first ever British player to play for them. This wasn't just a squad number. He played in front of 100,000 fans at the Bernabeu. He scored in El Clasico. He helped them win the La Liga title and the Copa del Rey. Spanish fans called him La Pelagada Negra, the Black Pearl, for his elegance and flair. He also played in the European Cup final, something very few English players can say. And let's be real, how many players from England today make that jump successfully? Laurie was living proof that English players could go abroad and ball out. He didn't just make it in Spain, he made history there. But unfortunately, it was not to be for Laurie Cunningham, and he had a tragic ending. On 15th of July 1989, at the age of just 33, Laurie Cunningham died in a car crash near Real Madrid. He was playing for Rayo Vallecano at the time. Funnily enough, a team that we are playing this Saturday in a friendly game, which is why I thought it would be fantastic to do this episode. He was still showing flashes of brilliance, but his life was cut far too short. His funeral was in London, was attended by thousands, not just football fans, but people who saw him as a cultural icon, a pioneer, and a symbol of change. And here's the thing, Laurie Cunningham should be a household name. He should be spoken about in the same breath as George Best, Henry, Ronaldo, because he wasn't just a player, he was a movement. A lot of people think that, the modern day players were fantastic, but look at the pitches that the players from the 70s were playing on and look how well they performed with the hate and prejudice that was against them, These are the sort of players that we should be hyping up and should be looking up to. Today at West Brom, Laurie Cunningham isn't just remembered, he's celebrated. His name is etched into our history. Tributes, books, documentaries, because this club, our club, helped shape the legend. So when we talk about icons, we're not just talking about goals or assists. We're talking about bravery, vision, impact. And Laurie Cunningham was all of that and more. He was one of us, and he'll always be one of the greatest to ever wear an Albion badge. Rest in peace, Laurie. You changed the game. You changed the world. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Hope to catch you in the next episode. And up the Baggies.